This is Chief Baker of Austin Fire Department. He's about to lose his job, and in my opinion, rightfully so.
I want the members of the LGBTQ community to know that the Austin Fire Department is a place they're welcome.
Chief Baker is so concerned about, squeezing pennies here and saving money rather than saving people.
One of my goals is really to increase the diversity of the Austin Fire Department.
I absolutely believe that lives were lost because Austin firefighters did not deploy.
So an all-white fire chief association is blaming a black fire chief for the floods that happened in Texas. You're blaming the wrong color. The color you should be blaming is orange.
Here we go. Sadly, it's been about a week, a little bit over, since the very tragic flash floods that ripped through East Texas, destroying a Christian girls camp, Camp Mystic. And of course, now as for lack of a better term, as the story is starting to become more and more clear and we're hearing different sides, a story is coming out of the fire chief of the city of Austin, Texas, who refused to send support ahead of time because they thought there might be an event happening. So their early warning misnomer is false. They knew well in advance that there was going to be something could possibly happen. So we're going to be looking today at this fire chief and kind of see if we can unpack why it is that he did not send, I think they're called swift water rescue ahead of time to provide even an early warning, a little bit of knowledge for those campers and those people who are celebrating the 4th of July. So let's go check it out.
The Austin fire chief is under fire, not for what he did, but for what the firefighters union says he didn't do.
We have the resources, we have the training, we have the personnel.
The union president says Chief Baker held back trained crews during last week's deadly floods, even though they were ready to respond.
I started sending pictures with their names by them. I said, Chief, open these up and zoom in on these little faces. 8 to 10 years old. We need to do something. No response. No deployment.
He said Austin firefighters were requested on July 2nd and 3rd before the flooding even started. Austin said no both times.
What was said up and down the chain is, do not deploy, don't even ask. Within our department, he's known as a bully. He's known as being vindictive. He's known as being retaliatory. So when you have an order coming down the chain that says, we don't deploy, don't even ask, people know what that means. And people didn't deploy when they normally would have because of that direct order.
Chief Baker defends his decision, saying he had to balance helping other communities while protecting Austin.
Chief Baker is so concerned about, squeezing pennies here and saving money rather than saving people.
With nearly 40 years of firefighting experience under his belt, Nick says he doesn't make these claims lightly.
I used to be a part of the original Swiftwater team. I know the conditions. I absolutely believe that lives were lost because Austin firefighters did not deploy. I know some of those girls could have been survived if we had had the best boat crew the day before on scene. I know it. I know it in my heart. And the fact that we didn't do it and we let them down is just, it's unconscionable.
The union is now considering a no confidence vote for Chief Baker.
This is just the tipping point where we can no longer pretend that the chief, is competent enough to continue as our leader.
He's wasting no time making some changes.
So an all-white fire chief association is blaming a black fire chief for the floods that happened in Texas. You're blaming the wrong color.
I tend not to get my political advisement from people who look like a living pincushion. I tend not to listen to them. They don't usually give me good political directions or give me idea. Matter of fact, I just don't even listen to any of them unless they just putting my fries in the bag. That's it. This is so gross. And to turn it into, I've heard nobody say that he was an incompetent black fire chief. They say he was an incompetent fire chief. Nobody's saying that he's his race. This pincushion is. So I hate when they do this because it takes away from the argument. It attempts to take away from the argument as a whole. So, all right, let's let pincushion go.
The color you should be blaming is orange, and he's in the White House. All the blame should go to him. All of it. The nerve to blame anybody black. You had a chance to blame it on a black person, but you voted for someone who was orange when you could have voted for someone who was black. Y'all said no. 77 million of you, plus the ones who didn't vote, plus the ones who voted third party. You could have blamed it on someone black, but you didn't. So blame it on someone orange.
One change Chief Joel Baker is working on is how to diversify the department and recruit more members of the LGBTQ community.
This is Chief Baker of Austin Fire Department. He's about to lose his job, and in my opinion, rightfully so. I'm not going to put it all on this man, but I am going to put a lot of it on it because he's a chief, and you don't get those bans because you don't know better. His excuse, at least what's being reported, I can't even believe this. My heart of hearts tells me this is wrong because I know a lot of chiefs in the fire service, and I cannot believe that there's even one in this country that doesn't understand this. But the reason they're reporting is because he, Chief Baker, was trying to save a few dollars. But that's just not how these emergencies work, right? When he gets the
I just gotta let that settle for a second. I've never heard anybody in an emergency capacity, whether it be fire, police, EMT, I've never heard somebody say that in the face of a impending or pretty certain disaster, we need to save money. I've never heard anybody do that. Now, after the facts and when everything's sunshine and rainbows, I've heard it, but never like, oh man, we got this event happening. The clouds are gathering. The smoke is starting to form. The sparks are sparking. We got to save money. I've never heard that before. If that man said that, then I agree with this woman wholeheartedly. He needs to lose his job. That's crazy work.
Information on July 2nd and he can deploy his team. They go on standby and they're there. Their presence is known because they fear that something bad might happen, right? We know that river floods. We know that the weather that was coming in was bad. The meteorologists were reporting this. Where was the trust in our system? You send those teams there, even on standby, even days before. And you know what? Their presence alone tells the people at that camp, tells the people on the banks that are just camping for the 4th of July, oh, this might be a real situation.
Right.
Maybe we need to kind of back up a bit. And maybe they wouldn't have backed up enough, but over 100 lives were lost because he wanted to save some money because according to reports, he didn't understand that the federal government would pay it back. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He knew that if this were going to be a big situation where FEMA's involved, the federal government's involved, then all of his resources will be paid for by the government to help the communities in need. That's why we train. That's why we do it. Now, I only worked in Texas as a firefighter for a small period of time, and it was farther up north in the northern Dallas suburbs. But I did train Swiftwater. I was a Swiftwater 2 rescuer trained in Colorado. Okay. Would I have been able to handle this? No, not at my level of training. No, but would I have been there? Yeah. Okay. Did those Mystic campers, did they have any idea what to do when they were in the water, what body position to float in, where their possible exits might be? Did they have any idea? No, not one. But you know who did? Those firefighters. And I don't know when their Swiftwater team knew that there was a possibility to deploy and were told no by this man. I don't know how long, but living through the last several days, especially knowing what happened, is beyond devastating for those men and women that were trained to go do this job. Look, we know that we might be putting our life on the line and that we might not make it out of any rescue. And we are okay with that.
So I want the members of the LGBTQ community to know that the Austin Fire Department is a place they're welcome. Your sexual orientation has no impact on dragging a fire hose or starting an ID line or starting doing CPR or fighting the fire.
I don't try to dwell on me being the first African-American fire chief,
because that's not important. What's important is I'm not the last African-American fire chief. That's more important than being the first. One of my goals is really to increase the diversity of the Austin Fire Department. It needs to reflect more of the community we serve, because I believe the youth of the Austin, youth in general, you will be what you see. So for those young African-American, young Latinos, or people in the Asian community or the LGBT community, they see more firefighters that look like them and have similar values to them, then they want to choose the Austin Fire Department as a career as well.
All right. So that's the story. I really do hope that these elected officials and people that we put our trust in, we saw the same thing happen in Los Angeles. Sadly, I don't know which one was worse, but a lot of people lost their lives and a lot of people are pointing their fingers at this man. I don't think all the blame goes on him for sure, but a lot of it does. And that's really sad to think about. These families have been devastated. This community has been ravaged by that flood. And again, the flood is not his fault. He would not have stopped the floods, but could 10 people have been saved? Could 20 children have been saved? Rather than us looking at 100 plus deceased and many of them being children. Man, I don't know how that guy sleeps at night. I really don't. I want to hear what you think down in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you so very much for your support. Continue to pray for this community because they've been ravaged and there's no way that they'll ever be the same. There's no way. And I can only imagine what these families are going through. So let's continue to pray for them. Pray for this fire chief and these people that know that they could have been a part of the solution. They could have rescued, they could have saved, they could have been savior for somebody, but they didn't do what they were supposed to do. Pray for them. Pray for them. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Thank you so much for liking the video. Until next time, everybody, grace and peace.